Hello everyone, welcome to another doll customizing video with me Akin. But before we start, of course, shout out to my coffee members. Sin Beloves, Ruby Rouge, Mel, Awkward Burb, Invisible Bear, Mel Again, Hanu Made This, Star with the Emoji, Jasmine, Simple Hello 69, and Jonathan. Thank you so much for your support, I really appreciate it. If you want to help keeping this channel afloat, consider becoming a coffee member. You'll also get to see what I'm working on way before the video is out. Okay, now we can begin. A few months ago, I bought this Spin Master CYBORG action figure for like $8. It wasn't that bad. It's 1/6 scale, has decent articulations, and I'd been dying to use this as a base, particularly the arms. They have awesome details, and with a paint job, I think they look even better. Actually, I'm only gonna take the arms and well, the chest, but I'm gonna sculpt over that. I had to postpone this idea because it would have to be combined with another doll and I wasn't in the mood to tear apart a good condition doll. But the stars aligned and I found this. It's a G2 Cloud Wolf whose forearms and hands are missing. Just perfect for this project. I found this from an online junkyard, guess for how much? 50 cents. The hip joints are intact but the knees and one of the ankles are a bit loose, but I think once we put pants and shoes on him he'll be fine. The worst thing about him is the head. Don't know what he went through, don't wanna know. I mean, sure we can always paint over it, but I'm not gonna do that. I'll use a replacement head. Let's remove it by dunking it in hot water for about a minute. Protect your hand with a towel and yank the head off the body. The inside of the neck is so dirty, like my god, where had he been? Anyway, the idea is to cut the upper torsos of both dolls and transplant CYBORG's upper torso on Cloud's body. I think it's pretty straightforward. Let's start marking. From Cloud's body, we also need the neck. Now we can cut and harvest all the parts we need. Sometimes you still need to use a hacksaw to finish the cut because there's bars inside that the cutting bit on the rotary tool can't reach because it's too deep. Then I clean up the edges with flash cutters. It's the CYBORG's body turn to be torn apart. It's a clean cut. Nice. The neck, however, is a bit of a pain. I gauge the position of the neck and make marks on the torso. Then I cut two slits to make seats for the neck. Now we can stick the neck in the upper torso. Using a sanding bit, I take out the details on the chest and back because they aren't what I have in mind. He's gonna be bare-chested. I fill up the lower torso cavity, half with aluminum foil and half with epoxy. I fill up the upper torso cavity as well, but just the middle part and let it cure. I drilled two holes like this in the lower torso, put a piece of tape over them, and mark where the holes are on it. Then I place the tape on the upper torso and drill those holes. This way the holes will correspond one another. I cut two acrylic rods to size already inserted in the lower torso and stick them to the upper torso just like a plug. I remove the upper torso again and apply epoxy on the base of the lower torso before reattaching the upper torso. This will mush the epoxy between the two parts, creating a strong bond. Why do I bother doing all this? Why not merging those parts with just epoxy? Well, in my opinion, when you're Frankensteining doll parts together, constructional sculpting is really important. I'd say durability over anything else, but that's just me. If you're fine with using only epoxy, don't let me stop you. While I'm at it, I also fill the gaps between the two parts to really merge them together. I roughened the surface of the lower torso and the neck using sandpaper so epoxy will have a better grip to them. I forgot to do that, but that's okay, I'm doing it now. Then I wipe off the dust clean with wet wipes. Here I'm super gluing the neck in place. I try to position it as center as possible. After the super glue dried, I add epoxy to make the shoulders whole again. Now we can start shaping up the new torso. I begin by adding more materials on the obliques. Doing this on this one feels really stable because all the surface is solid, it's not floating popsicle sticks or wires like my previous projects. The slope on the back is pretty steep, so here I'm hot gluing aluminum foil to act as filler. Then I conceal it with more epoxy. Since I'm not gonna do anything at all to the legs, I have to actively clean the drippings from the wet epoxy that trickle down. Because if I leave them there and they dry, they will become permanent stains. But if you're gonna paint the doll body, you won't have to worry about it. Here's what the new torso silhouette looks like. Next, I make guidelines for the cosmetic sculpting, aka the muscle details. I start with the pecs, always. Then the abs on one side. Got a bit of epoxy left, let's apply that to the neck. Then the abs on the other side. Sculpt the neck muscle and make it thicker just a bit. The lower abdomen muscle and make the navel as well. The collarbones. The oblique muscles. We're done with the front, now let's do the back. Let's add more material to the butt to balance the proportion a bit better. Are we done with the sculpting? Almost. I'm gonna sculpt details around the shoulder so the transitions between the mechanical parts and the flesh look more cohesive. Sculpting something that is supposed to be mechanical by hand was really difficult. Never again. Anyway, with a triangle carving knife, I deepen the grooves. Now we can sand the epoxy. Here's my most efficient way to sand. First, use a rough grit sandpaper to take out large bumps and even out the overall surface. Then I use a soft sanding sponge to smoothen the surface. Even though it's only 2 steps, I still get a blister on my thumb. Other doll artists are a lot more meticulous when it comes to sanding, like to the point their epoxy is shiny. That's crazy to me because I have patience but not that much. Using the same soft sanding sponge, I also sand the arms because we're gonna paint them later. Even though I only sculpted the torso and not the whole body, it still took me a week, but it was fun. Now let's rinse it. The proportion is kinda cartoonish, but I like it. Here I'm mixing paint for the color matching. Good enough, methinks? I'm actually gonna paint the arms first. I paint them dark silver, darker than the original, and it took me about 4 layers. Then I paint the details black and lighter silver. Then I give them a wash of diluted black paint. Now we can color match the torso. I start around the parts that border the mechanical parts, then the rest of the torso. After the second layer, I noticed the color is off. It's too warm. So I readjusted the paint mixture for the third and fourth layers. For the nipples, I'm just gonna paint them on for this one. To seal the paint, I'm gonna spray the body with a matte top coat twice. I've said this before and I'm gonna say it again. I do not recommend MSC to seal doll bodies. Literally any random matte top coat spray should work better than MSC, for plastic of doll bodies and epoxy. Here's what it looks like after the top coat is applied. I think I did pretty well with the color matching. Anyway, I'm blushing the body, just following the contour to accentuate the muscles we sculpted before. To set the body blushing in place, I'm gonna spray the body again twice with the matte top coat. After spraying the body 4 times in total with the matte top coat, the arms also become matte. No shit. But they should be glossy because they're supposed to be metal. So here I'm brushing watered down super gloss varnish on them. That didn't do anything. I'm brushing the super gloss varnish straight from the bottle, undiluted this time. The arms are kinda shiny now. I only gave them 1 layer of that stuff. Akin, are you making Jax from Mortal Kombat? Just because he's a black man with robotic arms doesn't mean he's Jax from Mortal Kombat, okay? Even though I see why you would think that way. Anyway, we're done with the body. Moving on to the head, here's the replacement. It's a G1 cloud head, but it's still gonna work. I want to apologize. Throughout working on the head, the white balance on my camera went out of control. I don't know why. And I also went out of frame a few times, so sorry about that. Let's prepare it by cutting the hair as close to the scalp as possible. Put it in hot water for about a minute to soften the glue on the inside and scrape the remaining stubble through the neck hole. Extract the excess hair. Scrape off the flocking. The hot water softened it as well. Use pure acetone to get rid of the factory paint and the glue residue from the flocking. Then wipe the head with wet wipes to clean the acetone. I was debating whether or not to keep the wolf ears and make him a werewolf cyborg, but nah, let's make him human. I got time to sculpt human ears, so let's slice off the wolf ears. Conveniently, there's 2 dots on each side of the head that indicate where human ears would be. I stab holes in those dots. Then I insert a U-shaped wire into the holes we just made, pull the ends out through the holes from the original ears and twist them. I'm out of frame, but basically the wires are interlocked on the inside. It should look something like this. The wire will act as an anchor for the future epoxy. I've seen people glue ears from another doll to do this, but I don't trust glue that much because again, durability over anything else. Before we sculpt the ears, let's talk about the hair. At first, I wanted to give him short locks hairstyle like this, but I have no idea how to get that. I asked about this on Instagram and people suggested to unravel acrylic yarn and reroute the head with the strands. And that's the thing, they look like strands of hair and not clumps like locks supposed to look like. This would have worked if I was going for twists or braids, but I wanted locks and the texture is just not right. So unfortunately, I have to scrap the idea and go with another hairstyle. But if you know how to make doll scale locks, especially out of acrylic yarn, let me know in the comments. Let's put the head back on the body. I trimmed the neck peg just to make things easier. I cover the body with a plastic bag and get to sculpting the ears. I got new sculpting tools, thank you so much coffee members! After the epoxy cured, I sand them lightly with a fine sanding sponge. Then I paint the ears to match. They're not super detailed, but they look like human ears, right? Look pretty good. Let's glue pieces of fabric to cover those holes in the head. Time to spray the head 3 times with Mr. Super Clear UV Cut Flat, waiting 30 minutes in between layers. Per usual, we begin with initial blushing with soft pastels. I seal the face again and start coloring the lips and map the eyebrows, still using soft pastels. On the same layer, I sketch the eyes, but this light brown watercolor pencil isn't doing shit. I switch to white, and it's a good idea to build up the eye whites early on since the skin tone is pretty dark. Another layer of MSC, and now we can fill in the irises. I'm giving him light brown eyes. With more MSC layers, I build up the opacity of the colors. Shade the eyes and the scleras while I'm at it. With a black watercolor pencil, I draw on the eye lines and eyebrow hairs. Add the pupils. Let's give him some facial hair, why not? I'm happy with the opacity. Now we can dot on the eye shines to bring the face to life. Before we seal it for the last time, I'm gonna draw on his new hairline. I'm done with the face after 9 layers of MSC. That's pretty normal because it usually takes me around 7 to 9 layers to do a face up. He's handsome but cute handsome, not exactly cool handsome, you know? I take it. I think he looks Latino for some reason. And I did this face up in just one day. It was a very productive day. Let's remove the plastic bag to see the head and the body together. Looks pretty good! I wonder if they changed the formula for Mr. Super Clear because take a look at Tonga, the very first Monster High doll I customized 4 years ago. His face is completely matte, right? But the new doll's face has that slight shimmer to it. I hope you can see it. Don't get me wrong, the MSC still works. It still provides the gritty texture and the watercolor pencil still adhere on it properly, but now it has that shimmer and I don't really like it. I've had this experience since like Rika. Does anyone else experience the same, or is it just me? Or is it just me because I'm special? Also, I didn't think my face-ups improved since I started until I put this doll side by side. Now I think I have improved. What do you think? For the hair, I'm just gonna do my go-to hairstyle, a buzz cut. It's quick, it's easy, and it's clean. Here I'm cutting acrylic yarn into tiny pieces to make the flocking powder. Apply glue on the scalp and apply the flocking section by section until the whole scalp is covered. As much as I like buzz cut on my dolls, I don't like it in real life. I've only had a buzz cut once in my life and sunlight and gusts of wind made me dizzy. Also, when I showered, I looked like a sprinkler. After the glue dried in like 3 or 4 hours, or if you wanna be safe, leave it overnight, I brush off the excess flocking with a dry toothbrush, lay a piece of paper on the surface to catch them. One layer of flocking usually has bald spots, so here I'm applying a second layer. I snip around the hairline to make it crisp. Two layers of flocking should be just right. Why green, you might ask? Well, no offense to cyborg lovers out there, but in my opinion, cyborg characters tend to look the same. They're robots with human heads instead of humans with robotic limbs, if you know what I mean. So I'm making the hair and the outfit somewhat unconventional, kinda funky style so he can have a more distinct look. For the outfit, I'm actually just gonna make him a pair of pants, nothing crazy. My mom got this leopard pattern fabric which I thought would work for what I had in mind. Here's the pattern. I already hemmed the bottom parts and I start by sewing the front seams together. I stitch a fake fly detail before sewing the waistband. Fold over the waistband and do a top stitch to finish it. Sew the back seams together, just make sure the butt can go through. Sew the inner legs together. Turn them right side out and we're done with the pants. The pants fit well, but I don't like them. You can barely make out the pattern. They look more like partially bleached black jeans. I'm not feeling it. Finding pattern fabric for doll clothes is its own challenge. I found this online. The color and the pattern scale look a lot better, but it's a beach wrap, so it's not exactly fabric. Well, it's fabric, but not fabric. What the fuck am I talking about? Let's take a closer look at this material. You've heard of lightweight fabric, but this one is more like featherweight. It's very light, it's very flowy, and it frays faster than my will to live. Let's see if I can work with it. I could. Now this is what I'm talking about. They're not perfect, one of the leg is misaligned, but it'll get covered by the shoe, so it's not a problem, okay? For the shoes, these were Hunter Huntsman's boots, and I'm gonna paint them black. For the shoes, these were Hunter Huntsman's boots, and I'm gonna paint them black. For the shoes, these were Hunter Huntsman's boots, and I'm gonna paint them black. Don't use a clicking pen as a handle. Two coats did the job. Now I paint the details gold and silver. Seal the paint with 2 layers of watered down gloss varnish. They look terrible, but I don't care. Here I'm braiding silver, gold, and satin cords. But when I put it on the waistband, it kinda blends in. So I use some green strings instead. Then I sew it on the waistband. Need something more. Let's try to make a tassel. This works, I guess. Then I attach a clasp to small gold chains to make a quick necklace. Putting up the doll like this, he's a rather simple character, isn't he? Anyway, with that we can call it a doll. I name him Mike the Cyborg. So what do you think of him? Do you like him? Do you not like him? Let me know in the comments down below. Sculpting only the torso and not the whole body was pretty fun, it was a lot less pressure. My favorite part is actually the pants, they're so fun to look at, even though the focal point should have been the arms because he's a cyborg. My least favorite part is the shoes, they look kinda bad. Honestly, I wish I'd gave him tattoos on his chest or something cause he's pretty plain up there, but well, it's done. This is the end of this video, thank you so much for watching, hope you enjoyed it. Like, comment, share, and subscribe if you want to. See you in the next one, bye!